This video is brought to you by Southern New Hampshire University. More on that later.
Here you go, little orphans. Free corn and t-shirts for you all. Who's a good boy? Do you want a new home? Brent, I'm giving you a raise. You earned it.
Meanwhile...
Oh yeah, told you guys you could sleep over tonight while your bedrooms are being repaired. Man, what a good day.
Kindness, an important trait we as humans have. Out on the rim, it is a trait many players do indeed seem to lack, yes. I admit we might have contributed to that, what with videos on war crimes and evil mods, and maybe a few playthroughs where we make human meat factories. Not today though. Today we will talk about mods that help you be a good person out on the rim. Remember, if we miss any mods you think belong here, let us know down in the comments, cause we'd love to hear about it.
It's showtime.
First up on the list, hospitality. Yeah, I'm sure all of you saw this one coming. A classic mod that is a fun way to take care of guests and maybe make a bit of extra silver along the way. So, for the people who don't know how this mod works, first you need to set up a nice set of beds for guests. Mark them for guests and set up a price. Remember, nicer bed situations are more likely to be used and be paid for than some spot on the floor charged for 100 silver, am I right? But yeah, that's the beginning. You also can set up shopping areas and put on shelf items for guests to buy themselves, be it weapons, armor, shirts, drugs, bits of junk you don't. You also can have more social pawns focus on entertaining guests. A happy guest is more likely to come back, not to mention tell their friends to come visit. That means it's a way to keep up faction relationships in an organic way that feels very Rimworld. Oh, and guests aren't useless anymore. No, happy guests will be more than happy to lend a hand with chores. Actually, nice to have people who pick up after themselves.
Nice.
Coming back to work after the holiday break can be a struggle. Just when you got comfortable, forgot about work, and perfected your vacation sleep schedule, reality returns. And it's not pretty. Of course, returning to work is a lot easier if you have a job that lets you live your passion. So let's make 2023 the year you start making that a reality. A great place to start is Southern New Hampshire University, who is sponsoring this video. SNHU has one of the largest accredited non-profit online degree offerings in the country. I want to talk to you about their game development program. In this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. You'll also learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. And you'll learn 3D modeling and texturing with Game On software. You will learn how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience. SNHU is radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. Go to snhu.edu/Noobert, also linked in my description, to see what the current average annual salary for a programmer is and request free information about the program. When you request information, a real person will hop on a call and discuss how the program can benefit you personally. It only takes one click to find your colony. Finally, you can actually recruit guests to your colony. Doing this does cost some faction reputation, but if your pawns work to make friends with them, the cost is reduced possibly to zero. Of course, you could always force them to join for a major hit to reputation, but hey, sometimes Mr. I Can 360 No Scope shows up and you really need a sniper in this colony. But wait, there's more! Plenty of add-ons with hospitality, like the storefront mod. Utilizing a cash register, you can now set up proper store areas and put social pawns on cashier duty. Why would you want to do this instead of letting guests pick and choose what they want? Well, the cashier has another job: selling the product. The higher the social skill, the more money you get out of transactions and more likely to sell pawn stuff they didn't need. See, guests buy things based on needs. If they're hungry, they get food. If they have addictions, they get their vice. But a high social pawn can convince guests to buy the stuff they wouldn't think to buy. Do, however, keep in mind that there are limits. You can't sell beer to a teetotaler or clothing to nudists. Not even a 20 social pawn is that good, as hilarious as it would be. Gastronomy is similar to the storefront front. You have to make a proper room with a register, but instead of a cashier, it's a waiter. Pawns, both guest and colony alike, will show up at a table, and the waiter or waitress will take the order. The speed of getting the order done, price of the food, and the social skill of the waiter will affect the mood of the dinner. But in general, having a dined meal is far more pleasant than a normal one. Obviously, this is also slower than just picking up your own plate of food, but it is a pretty cool system, especially with how you can choose opening and closing times, menus, and prices all at the register. So, not only a good way to get money out of guests, but also a good way to have your own colony pawns feel a little more joyful out on the rim. The casino add-on gives you what else? Ways to make money via gambling, of course. New slot machines have been added to the game to let guests buy in and have a chance to win big, but hey, even if they don't win, they still have a good time. Red slots have a low payout but higher chance of winning, though if you win on them, you don't quite get a big mood boost. No. Blue, meanwhile, are much harder to win, but the payout will delight any pawn with the epic jackpot. Finally, green is middle of the road. Bit harder, but not as hard as blue. Good payout of times 100 though. Should also mention you can set them to be played for free for guests, and your colonists will automatically play for free, adding another joy option for them. Then there is the poker table, setting up a guest buy-in for them to play a round of cards for a chance to earn it big. It wasn't needed to do that, but I like the extra mile this mod did to patch the vanilla joy option. Finally, if you play with Dub's Bad Hygiene, you will have access to hot tubs, pools, and saunas. With the Hospitality Spa add-on in tandem, you can charge guests a fee to utilize these wonderful joy items. Doubt anyone will complain. Some people pay extra at hotels for pool access, and out on the rim, a nice relaxing dip in a pool might be what you need given all the hardships. Yes. Pretty straightforward. Just have Dub's Bad Hygiene or the light variant with this mod, and you can charge guests usage. Now, there are still mods out there that let you be the good guy. For instance, the hospital mod, similar to Hospitality, you now will get guests, only this time of the medical emergency type. First, make some extra beds in your hospital. You can go into options to reserve beds for your colonies, so you never have to worry about overfilling your hospital beds, and leave none for your colonists. After you have a proper hospital, you will get patient arrives events, with you now being the one to cure what ails them. That being tending to their wounds, cure their disease, or perhaps performing a surgery, saving a life. When it comes to surgeries, the game will only ask you for surgeries you can provide. If you have a bionic arm, you get asked to install it, and good news. However, you don't have to accept surgery requests. You can dismiss the requests, and they will leave no issues. Now, if you perform any of these tasks on your patients, you will be rewarded with silver and faction goodwill. Failing medical tasks, meanwhile, will hammer your goodwill into the ground. No one wants to find out your doctors double as butchers, so do your best to keep your best doctors on standby. Do I like this mod? Yes, I do. It's a fun alternative to guests, and it feels good to get medical training without having to pick fights for more wounds to heal, you know what I mean? So yes, I do like it.
I like it!
Tenants, meanwhile, acts more like a permanent guest system. You will get quests of people who want to stay at your place. They won't work for you, but are more than happy to fight if the need arises. But keep them happy. You get your rent. Who knows, they might even ask to permanently stay with you. If you are looking for more guests, set up a notice board and a dashing courier will show up to help you out. A pretty good system for more permanent friendly guests if you want to go that route. And before you ask, yes, this is compatible with the Hospitality mod, as the Tenants use the vanilla guest system, while Hospitality uses its own system. So one of the issues with vanilla Rimworld is how you can become enemies with everyone, but you can't become friends with everyone. The Friendly Hostile Factions Continued is provided by our favorite mod Necromancer Mill, and now permanently hostile factions in the base game and in some faction mods are instead hostile neutral. They start off hostile, but now can be turned friendly with enough work. Thankfully, there are plenty of mods around to help with easing hostilities.
Yes! That's awesome!
Now, if you want to try and make friends with more hostile factions, you might need a lot more bodies. Not to kill, mind you, to heal. One of the best ways to earn faction goodwill is to fix up and release their raiders. The problem is that sometimes it can be hard to heal everyone in time. That's why there are 2 mods provided by Chicken Plucker: the Battlefield Casualty Drills, or CBD, First Aid, and the Caseback or Casualty Evacuation mod. Both will help in making sure both sides get out of the battlefield in hopefully one piece. First Aid gives you an option to select a down pawn and do First Aid. It's fast healing at 200%, but with a 25% reduction in quality. Also, the pawn doing the First Aid will use any medicine lying nearby, if possible. Yes, it won't fully heal the pawn, but it will stop bleeding that might take him out. Though, if you want to bring the pawns into the hospital ASAP, the Case Vac maneuver up to 4 pawns to join in carrying the person to safety, adding more speed and a better chance for survival. Sadly though, this won't work on enemy combatants, but bringing in your guys from a terrible fight is certainly good for morale when Mr. Beautiful can get his face repaired in time rather than letting it bleed out, or worse, scar. Both mods are very good for keeping pawns from entering an early retirement 6 feet under. So if you need something to help you automate a bit of this work, try the Release When Healthy mod, at least is what I would say, if not for the custom prisoner interaction mod, basically compiling all the prisoner interaction mods, though for this part of the video we are talking about the Releasing When Healthy interaction. A simple prisoner interaction to release any prisoner you have when they are healthy enough to leave. This leaves you more time to focus on other things and not worry about food stocks or having to remember to, actually release the prisoners. Sometimes we hold them for years that we didn't intend to, but it happens. It's okay. Honestly, straightforward though. On the subject of straightforward, one of the best ways to deal with a pawn who is causing trouble, like having a mental break, is arresting them and then releasing them. The Arrest and Release mod does that, quickly bringing them to a cell and then releasing. If the pawn was part of your faction, they join like it was no problem. A quick timeout can do the mind good sometimes, I would seems. There are, of course, other options with the custom prisoner interaction. The Convert and Release action, similar to Release When Healthy, now you can convert and release pawns to your ideology. Useful if you have pawns that join you who follow a different ideology, and you are fine letting them be in prison for a while, but a better use is the Spread the Word mod. How this one works is you convert prisoners and then let them go. They go back and tell their faction how great your ideology is, and over time you will be able to fully convert other factions to your ideology. A pretty cool way to make the world more aligned with your faction, and recruiting new members of that faction might be easier. After all, think the same of you. Now for ways to get prisoners to do all this. You could do the normal shoot them and hope they survive, but perhaps going non-lethal is a better idea to make sure they actually make it. VE non-lethal provides multiple options ranging from tranq darts, lasers, and tear gas. Could be for tribal and non-armored opponents, but for armored opponents you might need more. If you want something more powerful that still delivers non-lethal shots, the Tranquilizer Turret Continued has you covered, providing you a simple turret that will fire on all your enemies and work to non-lethally take them down. Actually, a little stronger than the VE non-lethal weapons, it can provide good support during a fight, while your pawns use proper turrets and weapons to soften up armored enemies. So, a good mod to throw in to help make sure there are more survivors in every fight. Another use for prisoners could be to recruit them and have them live in Outpost. VE Outpost provides a way for you to turn prisoners into rehabilitated pawns out on the rim. All you do is send a group of pawns to an area on the map, have them make an outpost, and then you'll get supply of whatever that outpost does. Got pawns good at growing? Have them do some farm work. Shooting pawns are great for hunting and my favorite, the Artillery Outpost. This one lets you call on a free artillery strike once per day within 15 tiles from the outpost. Good if you need some support during a raid. Speaking of raids, the outposts themselves can be raided and the pawns there will have to fight. The good news is there are mod options to not have that happen, and you can use outposts as a way to earn resources. Could be a cool role-playing colony, only have outposts provide your resources. For future playthrough perhaps. Other ways to be helpful at the base is using the Mineco Spaceship mod. Just need to set up the orbital relay and the landing pad, and after paying the contract fees, watch as Mineco branded ships land at your base. Great for getting resources from their bulk delivery ships, but also good for other reasons. Then of course they can give you combat support bombarding targets you call upon, so they are helpful to you. How do you help them? Well, with the landing pad, they might land to do some repairs, have components and steel standing by for that. Not to mention, they might drop off or pick up teams to do the ground. Sometimes you might have to protect them on their way to you, or as they leave, as having them die on your property isn't a good way to make friends. This is an old mod, but a classic one for a reason, and one some still play around with. Though if you want to make sure your base is a bustling hive of potentially scum and villainy, try the Rim and Central Spaceport mod. Just do the needed research, set up some landing shuttles, and wait for new people to show up. The mod also has integration with hospitality, so your spacefaring visitors will show up for rest and relaxation in your base. Events also can happen, like a Kessler Syndrome event that prevents all space travel for some time, though royalty quest shuttles won't be affected to not completely break the gameplay loop. A derelict might call for landing permit and promise a reward. Just be careful, the drive reactor is a bit damaged and might go up in flame. A medvac might call you to drop off a critically wounded person with a potential reward in store for you if you can help. These are so fun. Prisoners need a transfer and you will pay you to take them off their hands. You will pay. No, they'll pay you. They'll pay you. Careful! One is from low security, but one is from high security, so it might be a bit dangerous. A friendly faction might call for some help from a pawn and take them off the map. You won't know what condition they will return in, but the mod promises no death, just potentially crippling. Finally, mysterious cargo might land on your base. Maybe it's good, maybe it's full of a giant spider. Who knows, but will you take the risk to crack it open is the real question. Who? Fuel is also important in this mod. You can make proper fuel processors and tanks with plus steel components and a bit of time to put it all together, but in doing so you can turn chem fuel into ship fuel, and the best part, you can sell it. Plus, if you had mods like Dove's Bad Hygiene, you can use the water system from that to help with fuel processing, as normally you need to put a processor on water for the best fuel efficiency, and a Rimworld can provide chem fuel directly into the system with their pipes. All in all, it's a great mod for adding more ways to make money, friends, and maybe more things to go up in flames when Randy decides you weren't on fire enough. For more animal guests to keep safe and eventually let go, VE Endangered Animals provides you a way to help those in need and get some good rep while you're at it. This mod provides a decent array of endangered and, in some cases, extinct animals that need a hand. Sometimes a breeding pair will appear. You can tame them, breed them, and then release them, letting them go back into the wild with a second chance. Other factions like that, and it does make me happy to know Ideology memes, aside from the Rim, likes their animals. We don't talk about animal haters on this channel. For other people who need help, the Beggars on the Rim will always show up. Better Beggars Continued will improve their mechanics a bit to make helping them more rewarding. Yeah, now aside from the goodwill and kindness to your fellow human being or aliens, first off, tweaking how much they ask for, you can go in the mod options. 1 wealth multiplier, 2 times is 2 if you are feeling really generous. Adding different things for them to ask for. Actually having them send a delayed reward potentially if you help, meaning good deeds will indeed be rewarded. Finally, 2 new beggar events, 1 being a drug addict who asks for drugs to help their addiction, and beggars being chased by raiders. If you help them, they will join you temporarily and then leave, living out on the Rim for another day. I always like the idea of the beggars in Rimworld, but mods like this do help give them a bit more mechanic. I'd add this mod in even if I don't plan to go completely nice on the Rim. You all know we were going to need to discuss the Highmates if we talked about hospitality. So let's get into the muck and discuss these salacious creatures. Very beautiful and high in libido, Highmates can do a lot to satisfy your cowardice. However, they cannot satisfy the need for battle, as they have zero compatibility whatsoever. Nope, none. Not a little bit. Not even a wink. With that said, they are genetically modified companions designed as playthings of the powerful people out there. So go on, grab that Baron rank. I hear they're handing these things out. Speaking of making a good set of friends, why not try Rimworld to get some new pawns? A simple mod where you can go to your comms console and see who is looking to join your colony for a modest fee to the Rimworld company, of course. But hey, first one is free. This is a great alternative way to gain friends on the Rim, all without having to beat someone down with a beer bottle, or use possibly toxic dart guns, and certainly safer than releasing an army of angry hounds on them. Yep, a simple good mod for any playthrough, friendly or otherwise. Though the mods we talked about were mostly about being nice to others, we shouldn't forget about our pawns. They need help along the way, and mods like Therapy is a great and friendly way to help your pawns when they have issues. Just make a room with a therapy couch and a chair nearby and have a pawn on the therapy job. Do try to make sure the room is nice. No one wants to get their mind fixed in a gory room filled with skulls of their fallen enemies. Well, except Ted. But Ted is different. Really, that's all there is. When pawns get therapy, bad memory debuffs like lost family, being insulted, or stuff like that which have time to go away, will go away faster, speeding up potential issues like mental break. I don't need to explain why this helps everyone involved. No one wants a pawn snapping and setting the casino on fire. We've been here before, Ted. Since we plan to have plenty of visitors on the map, I think it's worthwhile to recommend a mod that will increase your chances of keeping those visitors alive. The Smarter Visitors mods will force you to ask if it's safe to leave if, for example, there are manhunter animals on the map, or raiders, and gives you the option to tell them to leave or stay or wait. Suppose other things you could use to help your pawns is the time-release antidepressant. Straightforward, made in a drug lab with medicine research, you take one to boost mood and reduce social fights for 3 days. Honestly, a good way to keep pawns happy without having to resort to dangerous drugs. Finally, the greatest mod to being the nicest guy out on the Rim, Disco. That's right, with this mod you set up the dance floor, get the DJ and trigger the disco event, or just wait for it to happen, naturally. Now you got your pawns hanging out on the dance floor, having the time of their life. Yeah, I had to share this somehow and honestly bring the disco to the Rim. Or may not be considered a good thing for everyone, depending on who you ask. For me and the colony, we love to boogie all night long. And boogie we shall!